the inimitable, incomparable, and funny John Williams.
That's me. All right. I think so. Yeah, and it's working, isn't it? Is it working? Yes. Oh, cool. I feel like Madonna. I got this Madonna thing on here. I am. The Popeye song. I am. I am.
That's all that I am.
Thank God for that. Brene Brown says that spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably, I like these long words, we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us. And that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Practicing spirituality brings a sense of perspective, meaning, and purpose to our lives. Brene Brown's pretty cool. Anyway, I promised Bo and Hoppy that I would tell this story. And so here it goes. So I'm walking by the pet shop. And there's a sign in the window, and the sign says, "Talking dog, $5." Now, if you were walking by the pet shop and there was a sign in the window saying "Talking dog, $5," what would you do? You'd go into the pet shop and buy the dog, sure. So, I go into the pet shop and I say to the pet shop owner, "Excuse me, sir, but there's a sign in the window that says, 'Talking dog, $5.' What's up with that?" So the pet shop owner says, "He's in the back. Go see him if you want." Okay. So I go in the back and I look around and there's this wonderful dog back there. Bo, kind of like you. A wonderful dog, like you, Hoppy, only a little bigger. And I look at this dog, and the dog looks at me, and I look at the dog. You know how dogs look. I look at the dog, and the dog looks up, and the dog says, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" Before I can even react, the dog says to me, "Have you ever heard of the Iditarod?" I says, "Yeah, that race, the dog sled race, 1,500 miles across Alaska? Of course I've heard of that." The dog says, "Well, back a few years ago, I was the lead dog in the dog sled team that won the Iditarod." I said, "Whoa." He said, "Yeah." He says, "I liked pulling the dog sled, but after a while I got tired of it, and I went into training to be a bomb-sniffing dog. One of those dogs that smells explosives." I said, "Oh, cool." He said, "Yes." He said, "Did you hear of the mission that the SEAL team went on to kill Osama bin Laden?" I said, "Well, everybody has heard of that." He says, "Well, they needed a dog to go with them in case there were explosives, and so they hired me to go on that team. And we went into Pakistan and we killed Osama bin Laden." I said, "Wow." I said, "That is phenomenal." He said, "Yeah." He says, "You know, President Obama was so proud of me that he actually hired me to live at the White House for a couple of years and keep an eye on his two daughters, kind of their watchdog." I said, "Oh, that is just wonderful." I said, "Wait just a minute." So I went back to the front of the store, and I said to the pet shop owner, "I was just in the back talking to the dog." And I said, "He's a wonderful dog. He was in the Iditarod, the bin Laden mission. He lived at the White House. Why in the world are you selling this dog for $5? He says, "You want him? Give me $5. Take him and get him out of here." I said, "Well, I don't understand this." He says, "Just get him out of here. I can't stand that dog." I said, "You can't stand the dog? He's a wonderful dog." The guy's, "Okay," he says, "do you want to know the truth? You want to know the truth about that dog?" I said, "Yeah." I said, what's going on?" He says, "All right, here's the truth. He's a liar. He never did any of those things." I'll get back to the dog story later. It's part of the talk, believe it or not. It's not just a joke. Sometimes people here who have seen me before know that sometimes I just tell jokes for the sake of telling jokes. Like, Guy walks into a bar, you know, they all start like that, right? Most guy walks into a bar, nobody in the bar, sits down to have a beer, takes a drink out of his beer, and there's nobody in there but the bartender. And he's drinking his beer and he hears a voice, and the voice says, "That's a very nice suit you've got on." He doesn't see anybody, so he drinks a little more of his beer and hears another voice, and the other voice says, "That's a lovely tie you have on with that suit. That tie goes perfectly with your suit." Okay, he doesn't see anything. Drinks a little more, and he's looking around, he's kind of looking stuff, and doesn't see anybody, and he heard another voice says, "Where do you get your hair done? That's a lovely hairstyle. That hairstyle is perfect for your features." He calls the bartender over and says, "Excuse me, bartender," he says, "but I know I'm not crazy, but I'm hearing voices." The bartender says, "What are the voices saying?" He says, "Well, they'd say, I've got a nice suit, I've got a lovely tie, I have a beautiful hairstyle." Oh, the bartender says, "That's the peanuts. They're complimentary." Believe it or not, both of those stories will be part of this talk. And you're going to hold me to it. Okay, so, anyway, I'm going to kind of give this talk backwards. In other words, I'm going to give you like the good news ending of this story, and then I'm going to go back kind of to where it starts before you get to the thing. So before I get to firework, I'm going to read a couple things, because when I came into Unity, I had already been a member of a 12-step program. And the cool thing about that 12-step program was, if you work the first 9 steps, here's what happened. If we're painstaking about this phase of development, we're going to be amazed before we're halfway through. We'll know a new freedom and a new happiness. We won't regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. We'll comprehend the word serenity, and we'll know peace. Is this a good deal or what? Right? So far, it's pretty good, and there's more. No matter how far down the scale we've gone, we'll see how our experience can benefit others. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Okay, that's pretty good. Self-seeking will slip away. We'll lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. That's a big one, right? We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us, and we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And that's true, by the way, if you work those 12 steps and you continue on. Okay. So I came into Unity, and I'm reading this book by Charles Fillmore. It's called Prosperity, is the title of the book. And in the book, he says, begin to seek the kingdom of God's substance. Trust in the promise and see the results in the mental currents that are set in motion all around us. You may not be able to see at just what point success began or what separate word of allegiance to the Father first took effect, but as the weeks or months go by, you will observe many changes taking place in your mind, your body, and your affairs. Remember those promises that I just read? Okay. You will find that your ideas have broadened immensely, that your little limited world has been transformed into a big world. You will find your mind more alert, and you will see clearly where you were in doubt before, because you have been thinking about realities instead of appearances. The consciousness of an omnipotent hand guiding all your affairs will establish you in confidence and security, which will extend to the body welfare and surroundings. There will be a lessening of or entire absence of prejudice and fault-finding in you. You will be more forgiving and more generous and will not judge harshly. Other people will feel that there has been a change in you and will appreciate you more, showing it in many ways. Things will be coming your way, being added unto you, indeed, according to the promise. How about that? So, if we do something, if we work some kind of a program or have some kind of a plan for our lives, good things are going to happen to us. It's a promise. It's a promise. It's God's promise. God promises us no matter what method we use to spend time in God's presence and relying on presence. The 3rd step of AA says, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. And the 11th step says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And that's exactly what Charles Fillmore talks about in that book, Prosperity. Make your allegiance to the Father, not to things out there. But the things out there aren't the most important. What is most important is that you trust in God and be patient. I have a one-word definition of God, which I'm going to throw in now, even though it wasn't part of the talk. But I just thought of it, and I've said this before. There is a one-word definition for God. And when you think about this, most of you will probably agree with me. Every time that something wonderful or amazing has happened in your life, you probably did not plan for it. So my definition of God is the word surprise. I'm a Unity minister. Some of you know this story. I'm a Unity minister because I was going to meetings on North Avenue Beach, and people from Unity were coming over from the Ambassador East and saying, come on over to check out Unity. It's really cool. And I said, yeah, someday I'll go. But I hadn't gone to church in 8 years. I wasn't about to start until Robin, the flight attendant, came by and said, Reverend John, or I wasn't Reverend at the time, but very irreverent at the time, you ought to come over and check it out. So I did. And there's a long involved thing about what happened once I got there. I liked it, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, 4 weeks later, I said to Robin's friend Pat, I haven't seen Robin in about 4 weeks. Where has she been? And Pat said, oh, she moved to New York 4 weeks ago and married her boyfriend. Surprise! And now I'm a Unity minister. Surprise! I don't know. Anyway. So there's a song by Katy Perry. I was going to see if the YOUs wanted to sing it, but you know they're lazy at summertime. They're out of school. So that's how it goes. But she's written this wonderful song called Firework. How many of you have heard Firework by Katy Perry? A few of you have. Okay. So here's how this thing goes. It says, do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards that's caving in? Do you ever feel already buried deep, 6 feet under screams, but no one seems to hear a thing? Do you know that there's still a chance for you because there is a spark in you? In Unity, we call that the Christ within. We also figure out how to keep this thing attached to the belt. I don't know. Well, it seems like the thing that attaches to the belt came off. Don't worry, we put it in the back pocket, see? There's a spark in you. You just got to ignite the light and let it shine. Just own the light like the 4th of July. Has anybody here not seen fireworks? We go to the 4th of July, you go down to Muskegon Lake, and boom, they're exploding all over the place, and everybody goes, ah! We're like that. We have that light within us. That's what she's talking about. Baby, you're a firework. Come on, show them what you're worth. Make them go, oh, 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 as you shoot across the sky. Come on, let your colors burst. Make them go, oh, 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 you're going to leave them falling down. She says, you don't have to feel like a waste of space. You're original. Cannot be replaced. If you only knew what the future holds, after a hurricane comes a rainbow. Maybe the reason why all the doors are closed so you could open one that leads you to the perfect road, like a lightning bolt. Your heart will glow. When it's time, you'll know. You just got to ignite the light and let it shine. Just own the night like the 4th of July. So if you read that book, the big book they call it, it's called the Bible, it says, don't put your light under a bushel. Let your light so shine before men. We're all just beautiful. What do we sing? We are the radiant life of God. And then we throw in that wonderful expression, I am, I am, I am. I like to call it the Popeye song, right? I am, I am, I am. I am the radiant light. I am, I am. Yeah, that's it. We're fireworks. But the hardest thing is to believe it. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin says, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Imelda Shanklin says, spiritually, what are you? You are a soul that has forgotten its divine identity, a soul struggling to remember in the midst of time and confusion of experiences that you are the son or daughter of the living God. In the confusion of time and experiences, we forget. We slip right out of the now moment. Boom. Helen Luke says the coming to consciousness is not a discovery of some new thing. It's a long and painful return to that which has always been. We've always been this beautiful, radiant child of God, and through time and through experience, and all of a sudden we begin to think less and less and less of ourselves until we find some kind of a path back. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message and to practice these principles. And all of a sudden we begin to change. The moment of surrender is now when life is over, it's when it begins. So Marianne Williamson, in the most famous quote, the one that Nelson Mandela read at his inauguration, says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I? To be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You are meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone." It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. What was that quote? Spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all irrevocably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us. And that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Practicing spirituality brings a sense of perspective, meaning, and purpose to our lives. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart. Open up both your eyes. You can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be free. Find your heart, open your eyes and see. We can all have everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us, here and now. And that's the thing. It's the here and now. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So, how do we get from there to here? From that feeling in the firework that you're the plastic bag blowing in the wind, into the recognition that you're a beautiful expression of God. You can use Marianne Williamson books, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Charles Fillmore, the Big Book, to listen to the Dalai Lama, watch Thich Nhat Hanh. They all say the same thing. They all say it's in every one of us. So let's get back to the dog and the peanuts. So, I've talked to the owner. The owner says, take the dog and get out of here. And I'm thinking about that dog. And think about this for a second. What is the most amazing, what is the coolest thing about that dog? Is it that he was in the Iditarod? Raise your hand if you think that's it. Okay? Was it that he was on the Bin Laden mission? Was it that he lived at the White House for 2 years? Was it that he was a talking dog? Now, you know, when I first thought up this talk, I thought that was the answer. That he was a talking dog, but it's not. What is the coolest thing about that dog? Bo, what's the coolest thing about you? If you could talk, would you be cooler? Would he? No. The coolest thing about the dog is that he's a dog. He's a dog. Is there any more expression of God's unconditional love example than a dog? You know the old story, you want to know who loves you? Put your spouse and your dog in the trunk of the car. Come back an hour later. Open the trunk. Who's glad to see you? Who's glad to see you? Woo, there he's back, he's back. Woo, woo, woo. What the heck is the matter with you? You know? See, that's what I thought. Well, how cool is it? The dog can talk. But then I thought, what's really cool is that the dog is a dog. And what's cool about us? Okay? What's cool about you? Is it your job? Raise your hand. Is it that you live in Muskegon? Well, that's pretty cool. You know? Is it that you're a mom or a dad or an uncle or an aunt or a grandparent? What's cool about you is that you're you. You're a human being. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. A power greater than ourselves has put every one of us right here in this room, right here and right now. And the only thing that exists, it's just pretty tricky, the only thing that exists is right here and right now. The drive up here does not exist. The hood of the Jeep flying up because we didn't anchor it down doesn't exist. It was scary at the time. All the stories don't exist. The only thing that exists is right here and right now. And it's in every one of us. It's in every one of us. This wonderful, marvelous firework. This explosion of light and love and peace and whatever. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross says, when human beings understand their place in the universe, they will become able to grow to assume that place. But the answer is not in the words on this page or that I'm speaking. The answer is within you. You can become a channel and a source of great inner strength, but you must give up everything in order to gain everything. What must you give up? All that is not truly you. All that you have chosen without choosing, valued without evaluating, accepted because of someone else's judgment rather than your own. You got to give up your self-doubt. Keeps you from trusting and loving yourself or other human beings. What do you gain? Your true self. A self who is at peace, who is able to truly love and be loved, and who understands who and what she is meant for. You can only be yourself if you're no one else. You can only be yourself if you're no one else. So you got to give up their approval, whoever they are, and look to yourself with a big S for evaluation of success and failure in terms of your own level of aspiration that's consistent with your values. And she says nothing is simpler and nothing is more difficult. Now this Brene Brown, who I quoted from here, her quote is on the back of my car. Okay? It's one of the coolest people and the coolest writers. And if you get a chance, Google Brene Brown or go on the YouTube. She's got a couple of talks on there, TED Talks, that are just absolutely marvelous. And she's written a lot of books. One of them is Daring Greatly. Another one is The Gift of Imperfection, which that's where this quote comes from. And she says, if you want to be, she says, when you want to get to a level where you're wholehearted, okay? And to get there, this is the letting go part. She says, celebrate authenticity. Let go of what people think. Oh, no. Cultivate self-compassion. Let go of perfectionism. You don't have to do everything perfectly. Cultivate a resilient spirit. Let go of numbing and powerlessness. Cultivate gratitude and joy. Let go of scarcity and fear of the dark. Cultivate intuition and trusting faith, and let go of the need for certainty. That's a difficult one. Cultivate creativity. Let go of comparison. Cultivate play and rest. Let go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. Oh man, I worked 15 hours at that job yesterday. I'll tell you, I'm a really hard worker. Give it up. Cultivate calm and stillness and let go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Goodness gracious, this is a good book. Imagine, this is just like one page of this book. I get a commission from Brene if you buy this book. I'm a liar. I never did any of those things. Cultivate meaningful work. Let go of self-doubt and what I'm supposed to do. And cultivate laughter, song, and dance. And let go of being cool and always in command. This is a good deal we've been given this life. Go have a good time living it. Have a good time living it. I'm real familiar with that dog. I'm the child of the 60s. I have total recall of things that never happened. I dated Janis Joplin for a while in the 60s. I marched with Dr. King. I ran Bobby Kennedy's campaign, and I moved to San Francisco and lived with the Grateful Dead for a while. I was able to do all of these things from a bar stool at the corner of Chicago Avenue and Wabash in the city of Chicago. I was like the dog. Do you like me more because I was on the Iditarod? Do you like me more because, make up something to make yourself look better. You don't have to. I think it's the whole point of the dog story. And the whole point of the peanut story is this. That's a lovely shirt you've got on. Diane, you look beautiful today. I'm trying to think of something nice to say about Daryl. Daryl, you're a good guy. You're a lucky man, too. I'll tell you that. Okay? Like the lion shirt, Bill. You look good in black. Nice dog you got there, Carolyn. You get it? The peanuts. Be like the peanuts. Because the more you see and recognize the beauty in others, the more you become aware of the truth of what's within you. You can't see the good in others, even in Louis Gill, without recognizing the good within yourself. You can't. You can't pay a compliment with somebody without recognizing that part of that is within you. Right, Catalina? The lucky couple that I married. I look at them and I go, how cool is this? They're still married. It worked. How cool is that? Wow. Miracles continue to happen. So here's the deal for today. Like the lesson for today is, go out or start here and do something nice or be nice to somebody else. Be complimentary. Find something cool in somebody else and tell them. And you know what? Your self-esteem will rise in proportion to the esteem or the compliments that you give to somebody else. It's not a hard thing to do. I'm nuts. I do it in the line in the Jewel, Osco back home, I drive a limousine. I tell people, I'm always complimenting people, I'm always asking questions, where are you going? If they're not happy about it, I say, well, yeah, but there's some good things, about Toledo, but I can't remember what they are, but, anyway. Go out there and be nice to somebody, because you are a firework. You're just a beautiful expression of God's light, and it's such a privilege to be back here and see all of you friendly faces and a couple of unfriendly ones. It is. It is. I just want to say one other thing before we go into the meditation, and that is, I don't know who is more blessed, Reverend Diane or you folks, but I kind of have a feeling it's you guys. You guys are really blessed. Namaste, Reverend Diane. I guess we're going to do a little meditation to wrap this thing up. Thank you, everybody.